Good morning. I just had a full morning. I had a Zoom meeting and first thing in the morning. Went to the chiropractor and I just stopped by Mail Messages and More and picked up my replacement credit card for that. You've been following me, the fraudulent charge I had on my card, and now I have a new card. And I sat in the parking lot for probably a half an hour updating things on accounts and activating the card and doing all the things that I needed to do. And here's what I'm doing right now. I just realized the Art Bell Memorial is right over by the veterinary service that I take George and Dottie to. So there's a memorial bench there for Art Bell, and I'm going to go by there and film that. And most of you, I think, know who Art Bell was. And for those of you who don't, you probably won't care enough to watch the rest of this video. But just in case, Art Bell had a syndicated radio program that he broadcasted actually from a studio in his home here in Pahrump for years and years. And it was really, really good stuff. He would do alien things and occult and just any kind of bizarre thing that was going on in the world, or was people claimed were going on in the world. He would have a guest on and he would interview them. And this was just a wonderful show because he was such a great interviewer and an amazing storyteller. And I remember listening to him. It was on at night, and he would say, "From the high desert," and this is the high desert here, and from the kingdom of Nye. And when I was young, I always thought, wow, I wonder what the kingdom of Nye really is. And what he was talking about is we're in Nye County. It's spelled NYE, Nye County, Nevada, Pahrump. And so that's what he meant. The kingdom of Nye is Nye County. And hang on. And the name of that show was Coast to Coast AM. And it was on for years and years and years until he died. I think it was 2017 or so. We'll see when we get to the memorial. I'm sure it'll say exactly when he passed. And I believe it's still on. I know that for a time, George Norrie was the guy that took over for him, and I believe there's someone else now, but you can Google Coast to Coast AM and see what's going on with that now. But it was such a wonderful thing to listen to on the radio at night. And, before the internet, many of us would listen to radio at night, especially, in bed at night when I was a kid. They're back in the 60s, in the 70s. Most of us did not have the luxury of having a TV in our bedroom as a child. It was a big luxury. TVs were very expensive back then. But you probably could have a radio in your room. And that I did. And I loved listening to my radio. And his storytelling abilities and the sound of his voice, he was a very soothing voice to listen to. And I would still, to this day, you can go on YouTube and you can get replays of every single one of his shows. And I often will lie in bed and put on one of his shows from the past on low volume, and his voice would just lull me to sleep. And I've probably done that as recently as a couple of weeks ago. And little did I know when I was a young person, young man, listening to Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM, broadcasting from the high desert in the Kingdom of Nye. Little did I know that my official residence, decades later, would be right here in the Kingdom of Nye in Pahrump. That's pretty amazing. I never would have guessed. Not that I even knew he was in Pahrump back then, or where Pahrump was, or I just knew the high desert. I thought California. I guess I always assumed he was in California, but he wasn't. He was damn close, though. Even people that visit Pahrump don't realize how close Pahrump bumps up against California. I did a video out on showing where the brothels were on the outskirts of town, and I was doing that video, and I looked on Google Maps, and the road kind of ends at the last brothel there, but it continues on a dirt road. And I noticed that dirt road, less than a mile, was the California border out in the desert. Less than a mile. Here we are. Pahrump. The elevation here is 2,695 feet above sea level. But within an hour, you can find yourself below sea level. How? One of the turns we went by right back there, you will less than an hour, probably about 55 minutes, you will find yourself in Death Valley National Park. Now, I really wanted to do a video in Death Valley National Park and take you there with me, but I still cannot do it because of the federal law that prohibits commercial, and believe me, what I do here is commercial. You see commercials on my thing. It forbids commercial filming in national parks without a permit. And a permit is a long, drawn-out process that is very expensive. Not only is it expensive, but it far exceeds any potential revenue I can get. It's ridiculous. But there is legislation that was passed by the U.S. House of Representatives not too long ago. It's sitting, waiting to be brought up for a vote in the U.S. Senate that will make it legal for people like me, social media people, to get to, again, film in national parks without a permit. As long as we don't do anything, obviously, that interferes or breaks the rules, and I certainly wouldn't do that. So I'm going to hope by the time I return to Pahrump this fall that legislation will be passed and there'll be a new law, and I can take you into this fascinating world of the Death Valley National Park, which I've been to several times since I've been coming to Pahrump. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue and fascinating stories about Death Valley. Now, back to Art Bell. Much of which you hear on Art Bell's shows are just, how do I put this? They're just not true. There's things that he explored with guests that ended up down the road being completely debunked as total fiction. But there are other things that endure. There are stories about government complexes in Area 51 and aliens that still remained not officially debunked, and there are still legitimate questions about the authenticity of these various things. And still, even when I listen to one that I know has been revealed as eventually pure fiction, it still is amazing entertainment. Art Bell. So I would encourage you to get out on the internet and listen to the old recordings. I believe he did the show up until 2016 or 2017, not that long ago. And granted, 2016 is 8 years ago. Do you believe 2016 was 8 years ago? Holy mackerel. You know, just having the number 2 in front of the year seems like radically modern times to me. And that first year 2000, that was 24 years ago. It's going to be 25 years ago before we know it. A quarter of a century. What is this? The year 2000 was a quarter of a century away back? What the heck is going on with time? It is just remarkable how this fleeting thing of time passing. I do not recall in the 1980s and the 1990s, when I was in my 30s and my 40s, again, excuse me, my 20s and my 30s. I turned 40 in the year 2000, but my 20s and 30s, in the 1980s and 1990s, I do not recall any sensation of time getting away or going fast at all. Certainly nothing remotely compared to what I'm experiencing now is just absolutely remarkable. And I'm sure many of you will chime in the comments that you're experiencing exactly the same thing. And all it does is prove is time is relative, not only in physics, but in emotions. In the emotional world, time is relative to how you're experiencing your life. You know, it obviously ticks by painfully slowly when we're maybe in unpleasant times, right? When we're experiencing some kind of emotional turmoil or suffering, it goes by very slowly. Now, I have to keep an eye peeled here for a clump of trees that will be the site of Art Bell's memorial. And I think it's up straight ahead of us, because we're getting very close to where the vet is. So I am going to weave into here and see if I can find it. All right, we're going to get out of the car and walk up and try to find it. I really think it's right here. Let's do that. I'm going to take you off the rack here, unplug you, and let's go do it. Let's find it together. Now, I think a good candidate will be down here where I see a little plaque. I think this is going to be good. This isn't Art Bell, but I bet we're close. Oh, and here it is, but we'll walk right by it. Loving memory of Art Bell, 1945 through 2018. Very nice setting. Let's see what's up here. Well, it's just a nice little pond. So I'm wondering, would you like, since I don't have anything planned today, would you be interested in me finding out where Art Bell's original home was, where he did the broadcast from, and just do a drive-by and take a look at that? We'll get back to the truck, and I'll pause the recording so I can grab the phone and Google where Art's house is, where his house was. Here's the rack. This thing that I use. It's very nice. It's very stable. If you're interested in, I've been through many of these before I got this great one. I'll put a link, my Amazon link to where I got that. If you're interested in having something really stable that you can mount your phone to in your car. I will come back when I discover the information we need to get there today. All right, guys, guess what? We are going to go now to 3 places. I have found the address for the original studio that he broadcasted from, I think, before he did it from his home. And then we have his grave site, and then we have the address for the home. We're going to go see all 3. The closest one, I believe, is going to be the original studio. It's the radio station KNYE. So we're going to go there right now. Now, the one that's a little hard to find is...
Turn right on Calvada Boulevard, then take the first left.
His home address is a little difficult to find, but with a little Google stuff and perseverance, you can find it just fine. There are a couple of false, in his words, false flags out there on that.
Turn left on Calvada Boulevard.
I hope you don't mind the Garmin in the background. You're gonna be hearing that a lot. Not sure exactly.
Turn left on Calvada Boulevard.
Need to kind of go around in a circle here a little bit, and I think we'll be on a decent track. There's more than one version of what address it is, but I happen to know what the house looks like. And one of the telltale signs is if you check an address out on Google and you do a street view, The Art Bell house is going to have a fence that has a no trespassing, keep away sign for obvious reasons. And that'll be the right place. And we will not, when we go there, we will slowly drive by with an open window and film the side of it and not stop to disturb the people. We don't want to disturb the people that live there at all. These other two stops should not present any such problems.
In 1 mile, turn right on Pahrump Valley Boulevard.
It says it's going to take 8 minutes to get there. Depending on what I come up with to talk about on the way, I may just cut to the arrival if I can't think of anything or what I'm talking about is extremely boring. I have no idea what's about to come out of my mouth. You know, I do. It's really funny. I enjoy making these kinds of videos in the same way that I enjoy doing the almost silly grocery store videos. It's because I'm getting to know the people that watch my channel, and it's like having you sitting next to me in the car, going with me. It doesn't feel like I'm alone. Not that I'm saying I have any problems, with being alone. I'm okay with being alone. I spend a lot of my time I'm a single nomad. I spend a lot of time. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make this level as possible.
Turn right at the stop sign.
I spend a lot of time alone by choice. I am an introvert. And that means I gain my energy through solitary time versus an extrovert who gains their energy through being around others. Now, you might notice an introvert does not mean I don't like being around people or it doesn't mean I'm not outgoing. It has to do with where you get your energy. When I'm exhausted by interactions with people, I retreat and I'm alone. Exhausted emotionally by anything, I seek to be alone. Extroverts, I think when they're emotionally distraught, they go seek out the company of others. And I think that's the main difference. One thing, if I do decide to put the whole thing out, even if I'm not saying anything interesting, you're getting to see some Pahrump stuff that you usually don't see. Almost everything you see in Pahrump is on videos is going to be that Route 160, that main drag over there off to the right where all the stuff is. And you might kind of get tired of seeing that. Now we are going to come up to one of the main thoroughfares here that runs
at the roundabout,
perpendicular to 160. That's 372. And one of the marks of 372 is we're about to see is they have at least a couple of traffic circles, 2 or 3, I think. And I was just here because I just went to Tractor Supply.
Third exit to Nevada 372.
Tractor Supply to fill one of my propane tanks. Now, Preferred RV Resort sells propane, but during this time of year, only once a week for an hour, and I can't seem to get it together to be there for that hour or be available for that hour. It's Tuesdays 9 to 10, and I always seem to have something going on 9 to 10 on Tuesdays, unfortunately. So I had to go to Tractor Supply. When I got there, there's only one guy in front of me, but it turns out he had 5 tanks to fill, and the first one it looked like I guess it could be a 50. It was either a 50 or 100-pound tank. I mean, there was no way he could lift it. He had it on a hand truck. They put it on and they went to his truck, and his back of his truck had a lift on it. So that's how big it was. But it took a really long time for them to finish with that guy to do my little 20-pounder. Just make sure I'm doing speed limit here. It's 45. Get over in the right lane so people can't mind me.
At the roundabout, take the second exit.
There was this one Art Bell story that I was just fascinated by. I'd never heard of it before, but it was a guy, I think in either Oregon or state of Washington, that had a hole, like a well hole on his property that he became curious about because he couldn't figure out how deep it was. And he did things like he bought fishing line with a weight on the bottom,
the second exit
and it was like
Nevada 372.
miles deep. And there were stories about the government coming out and pushing him off his land, and it just sounded, I mean, absolutely an amazing story. And the guy sounded so, really authentic and believable, and I was just enthralled with it. And I listened to it late at night. Of course it was it was an old rerun, and I went to bed. I fell asleep thinking, wow, what an amazing thing. I wonder what came of it. So I went to research it the next morning, and of course I found out after the show and people got interested, they found out the guy totally made everything up. There was no such guy, no such property. It was totally made up, but it was a great story. And it was an urban legend for a really long time. If I think of it, I'll Google the urban legend and tell you what it's called so you could look it up. It's a fascinating story that was just all made up. Now, to me, the almost the modern day version of what I loved about Art Bell's show is a YouTube channel called the Y Files, and they don't. There's not an interview. If you've never seen this, let me describe this. It's the same kind of stories, right? Occult and UFOs and conspiracy theories and things. And there's a very charming, great storyteller, young guy that tells the story. And he has a very interesting companion with him. Wait, I'm sorry. I need to make a left-hand turn here. And his companion is a goldfish in a bowl beside him. The goldfish has teeth.
At the end of the street,
and he's
turn right.
A real character. They banter back and forth, and it turns out I did a little research. The guy, the host of the show, also does the voice of the fish, and it's very entertaining, the banter between the two of them.
Turn right on West Shipment Road, then take the first
We're
left.
almost just a minute away here, so this is pretty cool. I see a big antenna. I bet you that's... How much you want to bet that's it? That big antenna right in front of us there. That big antenna. It's going to be it. He will tell a story from the perspective of whoever it was that,
Turn
like the
South Adams
whistleblower
Road.
who told the story, right? And he'll do it with all the evidence that person presented and everything that he said from that person's or that group's point of view. And he does it very, very well and very convincingly.
1230 Dutch Ford Street on the left.
All right, we're going to get up here, and I'm going to stop in front of the station and take the camera off the dash here and show you what it looks like. Boy, it's fenced off with some serious razor barbed wire fence. I guess they got to watch out for kind of crazy people.
1230 Dutch Ford Street on the left.
Here it is. And I believe probably the front of it is on this side, but look at it. It's like almost like a government complex or something. That's some serious razor wire on that fence. And there it is, KNYE. No trespassing. Boy, I guess they have problems. They must. Isn't that amazing? And I can't tell whether it's operational or not. So, anyway, while I'm talking to you, I'm going to pull up the next address. You know what? I'm going to stop here in the middle of the road. There's someone here. I have to reboot my Garmin. Well, how about powering it down? That'll do it. Isn't that interesting? This device has never failed like this before. I'm talking about the occult and conspiracy theories, and I even have it unplugged. I have the power off to it, and it's still. Let me show you what it's doing. So it's totally unplugged, but it's still showing us. No, actually, you can't see that. I need to turn this around. All right. Here you can kind of see, if I can get the glare off there. I don't know if you can see that. It's still got the image on there, and I'm just trying to get it to reboot, which usually what would happen is that it would turn off automatically after a few seconds. It's not responding to anything. And it's not that hot. It's not overheating. It's not even 90 degrees out there. Boy, it's almost like something doesn't want me to continue this trip. I'm going to pull up here to a place where I can pull off the road in case someone does come by. And I think what I need to do is maybe hold down this button for a good 20 seconds or so. Oh, that's someone's house. Ooh, I thought it was business. Oh, it's rebooting. It is, ladies and gentlemen, it is rebooting. And we will have the directions to the gravesite momentarily after it reboots. Let's plug it back in. Let's plug it back in, Robert. There we go. And it is rebooting. You just need got power coming back to it. Oh, there's a dog in this property that's saying, "Who are you and what the heck are you doing?" He's not barking though. He's just trotted up here and he's looking at me. All right, it finally came back on. So let's go where to recent. And it's 5 miles from here. And we will hit the go button. So whatever mystical force caused my GPS to go dead in a way it never has before in years has been defeated. So we have a 12-minute trip to the place where the grave is. So I'm going to turn it back around. And we're back on the road, and we'll see what kind of back road stuff we see on this trip. I noticed here on the left there, they were just passing. That's a very big house. Very, very big house. It's kind of a complex. It looks fascinating.
Turn left on Ursula Avenue, then take the first left.
You know, I mentioned I inquired in a previous video why so many of these homes in Pahrump not only have fences, but they have fences that completely surround the property. Not just the backyard, not just the front yard, but the entire yard. And I didn't get that many great answers in the comments, but I have since concluded that there are so many creatures in the desert that could potentially do harm to your property that you're better off fencing it off. There are, you know, not just the normal things like coyotes and jackrabbits, but there are horses, many horses. There are wild horses. There are donkeys, mules, whatever you want to call them, around. And these are, you know, maybe animals that can
right on Florida Street.
Create havoc. And this is winding us through some neighborhoods I've never, ever seen before. So that's pretty interesting. Very nice houses here. Look, they can tell they're smart people because they have RVs.
In 3/4 of a mile.
They have beautiful homes
right
and RVs. This guy's got a big fifth wheel and a beautiful home. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful home. Looks pretty new. And I like it that they all have like stone and cactus for yards, so no one's cutting grass here. Just some beautiful homes here. I bet they're not cheap. Even in Pahrump, I bet they're fairly expensive. And look at if you look up and see the mountains, it looks beautiful. And still, I see Mount Charleston on the 22nd of May still has plenty of snow up there on that peak. The rest of the mountains do not appear to have any snow, but Mount Charleston, I can still clearly see snow. Anyone that's from wondering where exactly I'm at, I'm on Florida Street, approaching South Blag Road. I could be turning on South Blag up here.
Turn right on South Blag Road.
Now, I see this neighborhood here has houses that are a little bit more modest, but still very, very nice. Very clean, very nice looking homes. Probably a little bit more on the affordable range.
2.25 miles to the end of the street, then turn left.
So now we're coming up, for those of you familiar, the stop sign is Calvada Street. And Calvada Street is actually where the plaque was that I showed you. It's also where my vet is. And this isn't actually a neighborhood. Last year, I saw a herd of horses in the neighborhood, gathered in someone's driveway. It was so odd. And I have not seen a single horse or donkey this whole time I've been here since March. It's a little disappointing. I like seeing those animals. Maybe in the fall when I get back. Normally, like last year, I spent the whole summer all the way through November in New Mexico and then went straight to Quartzsite. I cannot, as much as I want to, I cannot do that this year because I need to get back to Pahrump to continue my chiropractic treatments, or I will end up what happened last year is I completed my treatments in the spring. I spent all summer in New Mexico, and then I went to Quartzsite, and I used a local chiropractor there to do a few adjustments, but my guy here said, you probably shouldn't have done that. Nothing against the other chiropractor, but he's doing an entirely different kind of spinal manipulation than what I'm doing. And I said, it won't help? And he said, let me ask you this. Did he do x-rays? And I go, nope. Did he do an in-depth examination? I said, no. And he said, then how the heck would he know exactly what he's trying to do? And I said, you have a good point. So while I was not in pain at all, really, in Quartzsite, I was walking kind of bent over like an old man, and people would remark to me regularly, you look like you're in pain
At
the
the
way
end
you
of the
walk.
street, turn left.
And I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to get 6 straight weeks worth of therapy through the chiropractor. It's not just adjustment, but you go into a physical therapy room and you do exercises afterward. I think it's essential that I do that prior to going to Quartzsite, so I can be in Quartzsite without any treatment for November, December, January, February, and then March I'll come back to Pahrump and resume. And it'll cost a lot less then, because guess what happens with me on February 1st? I get a Medicare card. And those treatments he assures me, are the subluxation treatments that I'm getting are fully reimbursable by Medicare. And I'm going to go a little bit more into this fall when I meet with my agent. And I think November is the earliest I can sign up for Medicare. But there are critical decisions you need to make when you turn 65 and you sign up for Medicare. And there are potentially decisions you can only make once in your life. That's pretty important. There's a window of time where you can make a particular decision, and that is to get into a Medicare supplement plan. And you can go into that and commit to it for life right there. But if you delay and don't do it during, I think it's a 6-month window there, you have to go through what's called insurance underwriting to get into one of those supplement plans. And they can deny you, or they can charge a much higher rate based on pre-existing conditions and things of that nature. So it's critical to make that decision, the proper decision, when it comes time to sign up for Medicare. Just trust me and go out and do a search on YouTube for signing up for Medicare and see how many hundreds of thousands of videos there are out there. All of which are going to be from licensed brokers. And they will discuss this controversy between Medicare Advantage plans and Medicare supplement plans. One of the first things that you'll find out about Medicare is Medicare itself, there are multiple parts to it. And the first 2 parts are called Parts A and Part B, and they're for hospitalizations and medical treatment.
1/2 mile. Turn
Separately.
right on South Dickey Road.
And So there are things like that aren't included, like medications, and you would think everything's paid for, but no, there are co-pays in what they call co-insurance. Like you will pay 20% of everything that is submitted legitimately to Medicare, and there are all sorts of ways that if you just have the Medicare that's basically presented to you when you turn 65, you can end up paying a ton of stuff out of pocket unless you get these extra plans. There's advantage plans and there are supplement plans. And you'll see a lot of advertisements on advantage plans because they're quote free. But you'll find out they're not really free. That's not really true. That's what all these videos are about. And it's actually, when it's happening to you, it's fascinating. If you're 30 years old and you don't care, it would be like the most boring, snoozing thing in the world. But you get billed, and if you're getting Social Security, it gets deducted from your Social Security every month when you qualify for Medicare, and I think it's about $174.50 a month right now, and that's only for the Part A and B. And you don't have a choice about that. You have to get that. Then these supplement plans, not the advantage plans, the supplement plans cost something every month, anywhere from an additional $100 to $150. And the one I really want is closer to 100, probably $140 around there. And it's a supplemental plan that basically covers everything except for $221 a year. So no big surprises, and at least no financial surprises, and no restrictions on where I could go. I could go to any hospital or provider that accepts Medicare. And unlike some of these advantage plans, there's some notable restrictions. Anyway, I don't want to get into too much detail there. We are almost to the cemetery. And we're going to pull in there, and I'm going to take you out again with me. We're going to look for, I believe, and the reality will correct me if I'm wrong here, that he and his wife are
arriving at 5441 South Vicky Ann Road on the left.
And there's, I believe there's a very nice headstone. Take a look at. So I'm going to pull in here to a visitor spot. Maybe something shaded. That would be nice. That would be very nice. It's fairly small, isn't it? And there's a big display up there. I bet they're for veterans, so we'll take a look at that as well. All right, I'm gonna take you off this thing, and we're gonna go find it. Very nice and peaceful place. If something happens and my wishes don't get through to my loved ones when I go, I do not want to be buried. I do not want a headstone. I want to be cremated, and I don't care what you do with the ashes. It doesn't matter to me. I want as little fuss on my behalf as possible. If people want to have some sort of memorial that makes them feel better, go for it. If I can be there in my spirit, I will be there. So this looks like maybe it's just a place where maybe ashes go. I don't know. So I think I see where he and his wife are. And we'll go and take a look respectfully. Do pay attention to how I'm walking through here. And here it is. It says, beloved husband Arthur William Bell III, June 17th, 1945 through April 13th, 2018. Talk show host, father, and friend in the night, whose voice shall be with us for all time. And then his wife, you can see her picture there, Ramona Lee Hayes Bell, October 9th, 1958 to January 5th, 2006. My wife, my soulmate, my friend, my love, whose spirit remains in me with every breath I take. That's so beautiful. And let's see where it's on the top here. People have left things. No, people have left coins. I didn't know that kind of thing was the tradition, but it's the only thing I have in my pocket that I can leave, and I will do that. I will leave a quarter. And this thing, I have no idea what it is. It's a metal circle. I picked it up on the ground. It fell. And I'm going to put it up there because it's just, I don't know, maybe it's a little flying saucer. And I'll leave that there as well. All right, so we are off to see his home, and the video will be done. So I actually came back the next day when I got editing the video. I saw that I had cut these tombstones off, and I felt that was really disrespectful of me to just leave it in like that. So I came back to get a full shot of each one of these so you could see them. I'll do them one at a time here. Here's Art's, and here's his wife. Let me get my shadow out of that. And here's his wife. And there's a shot of, this is what I left there yesterday. This little ring that I have no idea what it was from, but it's my contribution now in a quarter for memory of Art Bell. Really appreciated that man's talent. But I'm glad I came back and got a respectful, full shot of his final resting place. Again, it's so nice to do this and feel like you're walking beside me. We're on this little adventure on Wednesday in May 2024. Somebody put a request out there. Why don't you do a video on your truck? Like, this is my truck. I never thought of doing a video on my truck. He was asking me what kind it was. Is it four-wheel drive? Does it seem ideal? And the answer to all that is it's not four-wheel drive. And I bought it new in December of 2018. And I have to say, I was not well educated on towing and what I really needed. And guess what? I got lucky. All right, we will do the last leg of the trip here will be to 3.7 miles away from here.
Please drive to highlighted route.
And we will respectfully drive by this residence with the camera out the window so you can see what it looks like. And we will conclude this very long, drawn out video, which it's a little bit different, I think, than I usually do. I had just somebody that suggested I was talking about my channel to someone and the things I was thinking about it. And one of the things that I was wondering about, I said, I wonder why people like
1/2 mile.
be grocery
Turn
shopping.
left on East Thousand Day Boulevard.
And somebody said, Rob, it's an ordinary thing that people are very familiar with. They can relate to it, and they're interested in what another grocery store looks like, maybe the prices, and they just kind of want to come along with you on a genuine, authentic, day-to-day thing. And I think there are people out there that enjoy that. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because that's kind of what I want to do. I don't want to do 7 things you need to know as an RV thing. I do a few things like that I think are important, but, constantly doing shocking things that you need to know as an RV full-timer that you will die in the street if you don't know, to get, meaning people to give advice on like artificial intelligence things that tell you what title you should use and what thumbnail you should use. It's definitely all very well-meaning. Cross traffic here is the right way. And that RV and a SUV and a post office truck, yay! Very well-meaning, or just they encourage you to make it as dramatic sounding as possible, because people, you want clicks and you want more people, and you get people by when they have an emotional reaction to the thumbnail or the title, they'll click. It's really tempting to do stuff like that. It really is very tempting. I think the reality is you'll get a lot more clicks, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to increase your core audience, your little slice of viewers, your tiny little specialized slice of viewers, really much faster doing that. It's temporary. And I do notice this when I'll have, a video like, I had one on sewer stuff. I think it was important, but it got a lot of views. And I'll notice afterwards, it got a lot of views, and I'll pick up subscribers, a big chunk of them. Then I'll notice over the next week, I'll start losing subscribers, a little bit, or draining a little bit at a time, when they realize this isn't really the kind of content I thought it was. I'm not that excited about this guy coming up in my feed.
In 1/4 mile, turn right on Homestead Road.
Homestead Road.
Homestead Road.
You know what, guys? Homestead Road. We may have a little bonus for you. I put two and two together in my head here. Homestead Road is the road that heads out of town into California.
In 3 miles, turn right on North Desert Hills Circle.
My tire pressure monitor is going off because all 4 tires lost pressure. It says I'm not pulling my trailer. There's good reason why. There's no tire pressure. This goes out of town, and if you look straight ahead, if you look at where the horizon disappears, you can see mountains. That's California for sure. And where this pavement ends is where at least the two brothels in Pahrump are. So after we see Art Bell's old house here, I'll continue to the end, and I'll just do a drive-by and show you what legal brothels look like at least from the outside. For those of you who don't know, prostitution is legal in the state of Nevada in certain counties. The state law basically says it's a county by county decision for those counties with less than X population. And I say X because I really don't know what it is. I think it's somewhere around 200,000. What I do know is that Clark County, where Las Vegas is, far exceeds that population. So Clark County does not have the option to legalize prostitution. Nye County, where we are now, where Pahrump is at the center of Nye County, has a very low population. And so the voters of Nye County elected to allow prostitution. So there are several, at least 3 in the county and 2 here. And the 2 here are right next door to each other. They're sort of relegated to the outskirts of town for sure. And you'll see how they're just right up against the desert. And I think I mentioned earlier when I went out and visited a couple of years ago and did a little video, I noticed that the dirt track that went off into the desert is only about a half mile to the California border. So it just is a coincidence. Art Bell's old house is not that far from there. Now that we're out here, we will end the video by taking you out there. See, just if you're curious. If you'd like to be impressed, the Army used to have this recruiting thing, is we do more by 9 a.m. than most people do all day. Download it today. It is 11:20 a.m. right now. And I got up, did a walk and a video with Dottie, did my daily news little 60-second tidbit, and did my chiropractic appointment, and am completing this whole thing. And I imagine...
Turn right on North Desert Hills Circle, then take the first right.
And what I need to do is pay attention to what I'm doing, because I've passed... And yes, I'm looking in the rearview mirror. There's no one coming behind me because hardly anyone comes up out here. And I've done all this. I'll be done before noon. I've done all this. 2 videos, chiropractic. I apologize to anyone if that was upsetting to see me miss a turn and back up in the road, but I think I was totally okay doing
Desert
that.
Lane.
There was a car that came up. This is the road, and This is let's see which house I believe that it is. They all have antennas, right?
Arriving at 9041 Desert Lane on the right.
I'm pretty sure this is the one right here. And we will that's it right there. We will just go by nice and slow. And we'll turn around here. And we won't bother anyone here. I'm sure they're used to people going by very occasionally, like I just did. Now, the one thing that I don't know is several of the homes here appear to have enormous antenna arrays. I don't know if that's a coincidence or that's the reason Art came out here. They're all like ham radio people or something. If someone knows about this neighborhood, let me know in the comments. It'd be very interesting to know. So hopefully we didn't disturb anyone by making that quick little trip in there. But it was nice to know that's where Art lived and did his radio broadcast from there for many, many years. There was a story, and you can find this on the internet, where he was so disturbed by very strange people at night encroaching on his property that he suspended doing the show from there for a while. He was very concerned. Called the police, and the police tried to find out who was out there and what was going on. I think there were someone with a gun firing shots. It was a scary thing. So I'm looking at my phone here recording, and I'm feeling like this is going to be like an hour-long video. So what else can I tell you about brothels? One thing that I know is, if you remember the name Heidi Fleiss, she was a madam that was in the news decades ago. She had clients that were famous movie stars and things, and there was all sorts of scandal around here. Here's a sign for one of them called the Cherry Patch. And up here is probably the most famous one on the left is the Chicken Ranch. And I'll just sort of bop through the parking lot here so you can see what it looks like. See, this is the Cherry Ranch. No, this is the Chicken Ranch. It looks like. Next door down here is another one. Can't remember what it's called. We'll see when we can see the sign down here. This one is called Sherry's Ranch, and we'll just drive through the parking lot real quick here. And you see that the road ends there and turns into a dirt road. And if you look straight, you can see kind of the road goes over a little hill there. Let me tell you, the other side of that hill is California. Other side of that hill is California. That's how close California is to us right here. But right here, we're in Nevada. Now, just in case here, I'm thinking there's a third one, and it's down this side street. I'm not sure, but we'll go down and see if that's true or not. I've only seen these two, but I'm thinking that one, that billboard, either one of this had the same name as the billboard, so I'm thinking it's down here. Every once in a while it'll stop recording and it'll go blank and I don't notice it. So I'm saying I'm going down the side street to see if there's a third brothel down here. And I'm not sure that there is. It sure doesn't look like it when I get down here. But there was one, the Cherry Patch or something, that sign, that billboard, and I don't know where that. I am not going to go looking for it. So, guys, I think we're going to go around the block here just to make sure it isn't down here. I think what we have here is just some more wonderful people that live in the outskirts of Pahrump, right at the edge of Nevada, in the high desert, the kingdom of Nye. We are coming up on, that guy's got, wow, that's some people here have barbed wire on their fence. That's interesting. That's very interesting. That can't be cheap to have the sort of fence with barbed wire at the top. It's got to be expensive. And we're on Bond Street here. And you have that beautiful view of Mount Charleston off in the distance there. It's very, very, very nice. And we're going to come back up here to Homestead, and we make a left on Homestead, and that take us right all the way back to, I believe, 160 back home. I'm going to turn this around so you can see me. So I hope you enjoyed the adventure, the Art Bell adventure today, with the brothel bonus at the end. Believe it or not, I never intended to do this video today. All I intended to do was to go to my chiropractic appointment, and on a whim, I turned the camera on and started looking stuff up, and here we have probably the longest video I have ever done. Oh boy. So give me feedback on whether you liked it, or it was too long, or should I have gone in with the editing tool and just chopped it down by 40%? And I don't know. I still experiment. I was just looking off there to the side. It looks like maybe that was an old brothel that's been closed down for years. It kind of looks that way. I did talk about Heidi Fleiss, and I didn't get to finish my thought. Why was I talking about her? Because I believe she is and still is a Pahrump resident. One of the things that she was looking to do years ago was open a brothel with a twist. And the twist was that it would be staffed by male prostitutes for female customers. And that didn't work out. I can't imagine why. It didn't work out. But what I understand it is, and you'll have to do your own research on this, that she has a place where she lives out here where she raises parrots. That's the rumor. Don't know how true it is. Don't know whether it's something that's open to the public or not. I'll have to check it out. And maybe do video if she wants. If she wants some publicity. I'm going to think maybe she does. But anyway, I'm all talked out. You know, shown you everything that I could think of to show you in this video. And I really appreciate you. If you've made it this long, you're a rock star. You made it to the end of this video, you're probably falling asleep. Which isn't a bad thing, because I told you I do that. I listen to Art Bell and I fall asleep to Art Bell. I fall asleep to the Y files. I love falling asleep to YouTube videos. It's anytime I find something that's comforting, it lulls me into lullaby land. I will see you on the next video, probably tomorrow. Bye.